Shalom and welcome. Welcome. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. This is Rise to the Judges, Rise of the Judges. The series title is designed to take the sting out of judge and judgment as it relates to those being fearful of it, those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. Let us embrace the word judge and judgment as part of discipline, as part of the refining process. In this segment of Rise of the Judges, I want to bring your attention to capacity and limits, my brothers and sisters. You see, movement comes. We must begin to be mindful of capacities and limits as we prepare for movement during these trying times. Before I unpack this segment, I want you to know that I am familiar with the various judgment verses. A time when to judge, a times when we're not to judge. And I want to present them before you, as I do often in this series. Proverbs 31:9, Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 4, Matthew chapter 7, 1 through 9, Luke chapter 6, verse 37, John 7:24, John 8:15 through 16, and 1 Corinthians 2:12 through 16. These passages give examples of when to judge and when not to judge. Now let us get into this particular subject. End times. Do we really believe the scriptures? Have we given thought to the word end that is in the words end times? Consider these words. Time's up. That's all. It's a wrap. Finish. Stick a fork in it. It's done. In other words that describe completion. Do we take them seriously? We will soon realize, my brothers and sisters, final days are ahead. Look at loved ones who have passed away. Do you think they realize their time was up? Capacity and limits is designed to prayerfully better appreciate the time we have left in life. Wait, there's more. Capacity and limits will also reflect on instructions that are rising, my brothers and sisters, rising up from the living Almighty One Yahuah through His Word Yahusha. My brothers and sisters, I will present some possible answers to what we should expect in the coming days ahead as it relates to what is written. Movement is coming for all those physically living during these intense times unfolding. It is time to realize what's ahead. Things such as the final Exodus and the Great Tribulation describe at the very least how there must be movement to fulfill these prophecies. Let's take a tour that may address why we must stop taking for granted the importance of capacity and limits. My brothers and sisters, take these matters more serious than ever before. End times bring final moves and last times for getting anything done. You see, we glaze over when we talk about end times. We read the scriptures and glaze over them. We don't consider the realities. Many of us are probably familiar with Matthew 24 through 23, 24, 3 through 5, which reads, "And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, Say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Yahushua answering said to them, Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray." And it goes on to say in 26 to 28, "And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fighting. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation and reign against reign. And there shall be scarcities of food and deadly diseases and earthquakes in places. And all these are the beginning of birth pain. You might say, well, what does this have to do with capacity and limits? These conditions will cause movement, my brothers and sisters. He goes on to say in the 9th verse, then they shall deliver you up to afflictions and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Does this describe conditions of movement? Does this describe conditions where we must begin to think about where should we be positioned as we face these end time conditions? There's more. Matthew 24:10 through 12 says this, my brothers and sisters, and I'm reading from the eSword. The scripture translation of the eSword. 24:10 to 12 says, and then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. Conditions that we must ask ourselves, will these be times of movement? And it continues, verse 13 and 14, 24th chapter of Matthew. But who shall have endurance to the end shall be saved. And this good news of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. Are we close to the end? Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I presented these words to emphasize the realities of what is unfolding before our eyes now and what to expect. Let me continue. Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. It would be wise to begin to embrace actions that are needed for such times as these. I cannot stress enough that more movement is coming. Stay with me. Movement, my brothers and sisters. What does that mean? What does capacity and limit has to do with anything? Let me talk more about movement, and I will connect it to the subject title in a moment. Isaiah 11:12 saying, he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcasts of Yashar'al and assemble the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. This describes movement. It goes on. Let me go to Isaiah 43:5 through 7. Isaiah 43:5 through 7 say, do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. I shall say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. All those who are called by my name, whom I've created, formed, even made for my esteem. Those that he has made to use to fulfill his promise to Yashar'al. Some people will have you think all of us will be gathered, but some of us will face martyrdom, my brothers and sisters. Some of us will face physical death before such gathering. Please do not be one seduced into a false sense of comfort, thinking all of us before the physical return of Yahusha, all of us will be gathered. That's not true. A false sense of comfort breeds laziness and slothfulness. It's almost akin to those when they talk about the rapture. I ain't worried, I'm going to be out of here. No, my brothers and sisters, it's time to embrace the realities of what lies ahead and what is necessary and what will be needed. Let us also be mindful that the Great Tribulation brings many death and much destruction. Come, take a look at some examples of what is written regarding end times. Come with me to Revelation 8, chapter 7. It says, and the first messenger sounded, and there came to be hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. and a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burnt up. Does this sound like conditions that will cause man to move or would have moved? Revelation 9:18 says a third of mankind was killed by these three plagues, by the fire and the smoke and the sulfur which came out of their mouths. Yashar'al, the most trying of times have begun for some and will expand to others soon. We must be mindful that in these conditions that will unfold and have begun to unfold before our very eyes, there's things that must be done. Allow me to pivot to the matter of being in the right place at the right time. This is akin to movement. Where will you be going? With whom? Where? When? What will you take? Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, regarding what I mentioned earlier, examine these words. Matthew 5:44 and 45 say, but I say to you, love your enemies, bless those cursing you, do good to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you, so that you become sons of your Father in the heavens, because he makes the sun rise on the wicked and on the good. He sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. I mentioned destruction, death, cataclysmic conditions, my brothers and sisters. I mentioned movement. Some will be moved to safety, and some will not. Some of us will die as martyrs. Some of us will not. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, capacity and limits, knowing where you're supposed to be, how you're going to get there, what it's going to take, and so much more. Mark 8:35 say, for whoever desires to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. Now allow me to present some additional scriptures to emphasize how end times will become more apparent and why capacity and limits represent the need to know. Oh Yashar'al, my brother, my sister. Come with me to Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 6 and 7. It says here, remember him before the silver cord is loosed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the jar shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the wheel, until the dust returns to earth as it was, and the spirit returns to the Almighty One who gave it. Here it lets us know that some of us will face physical death. So when the scriptures talk about all will be gathered, no one left behind, those that are physically dead would have been gathered and returned to Yahuah, to the bosom of Abraham, wherever that is, until resurrection day. Let me continue. Given all that I presented, let us now consider possible to-do matters, things to do for such a time as this, my brothers and sisters. I mentioned movement earlier. Let us accept that there will be conditions that can and will force us to be displaced. It's now time to pivot towards things that just may hit home now. And I believe it has hit for some, and it will hit for others as well in the days ahead. Believe it or not, if we examine what is happening, we should know what to expect as end times ramp up. Are we prepared? Do we have a ready mind set to do what we are ordered to do? Yashar'al, Yashar'al, many of us are looking at things from a distance. You see, it's easy to look at migrants, immigration, people moving. It's easy to look at what's happening to them. But let us be mindful, intense times have begun for those living, those being forced to move now. We should, my brothers and sisters, we should not stereotype immigrants. Come away, my brothers and sisters, from misperceived thoughts, biases regarding those that are migrating. They're migrating for a reason, Yashar'al. There are reasons, some dealing with food, sustainability, a way of life. But I say to you, this is a prelude to forced migrations that will come worldwide with a great magnitude, my brothers and sisters. When travel movement becomes a topic of interest, begin discussing the how, when, what, where, why, and with whom. These conditions that are unfolding require some form of transportation. We must begin to be mindful of these things, my brothers and sisters. Begin discussing who will be riding with whom. Have discussions of whether or not to take specific supplies and resources. Be mindful that many will be ordered to just move with the clothes on their backs, my brothers and sisters. There are those equipped with supplies and resources. Keep in mind what is written throughout the scriptures and avoid grabbing one passage for a sense of security, my brothers and sisters, lest we find ourselves facing pain and regret that is unnecessary. We are not to worry, the scriptures tell us that, but we are to walk filled with the Spirit and following living orders. Remember, O Yashar'al, the scriptures are not there for us to just grab one passage and think we're going to be comforted that'll do. I say to you, O Yashar'al, let us be mindful. Consider Luke 17, 26 and 27. It says, and as it came to be in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the days of the son of Adam. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Let me continue. It goes on to say, and likewise as it came to be in the days of Lot. They were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. It shall be the same in the day of the son of Adam, the day the son of Adam is revealed. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I say like the days of Noah, like the days of Lot. But did you know that there are two different scenarios here regarding Noah versus Lot? How many have given thought? How many have heard people say, in one instance, one received plans and prepared before a movement, and the other had to flee, was even led by the hand of messengers, commonly known as angels. You see, so sometimes there will be plans given. Sometimes there will be preparation where we have resources and supplies. And there will be times some of us will be just ordered to flee with just the clothes on our back, Yashar'al. I cannot place enough emphasis on being mindful of capacity and limits. If someone you know owns a little car, by no means will 10 to 20 people get in that car, truck, or bus. Whatever the vehicle may be, they have their limitations. I believe by discussing end-time expectations, we can discover the thoughts of one another regarding movement and migration. Who will be riding with whom? How will we be riding? Or who will be walking with whom? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Those who avoid praying and discussing end-time matters pertaining to capacity and limits may miss out on critical instructions. They may try to look for stuff and things when it's too late, or they may have too much that they're trying to hold on to, and they need to leave it. Let us not be slothful and lazy. Have the needed discussion. Do not grumble or dispute, but uncover the realities and living orders given by the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name. Let us know what to expect, lest unknowingly we fall into chaos, either trying to hold on to stuff we need to let go, or either leaving and told to take resources and supplies and not having enough. My brothers and sisters, there are many details and processes that are unfolding and require our attention. Our end time assignments will be different. Let us pray earnestly to discern and understand the positions we will be given. It will be wise to assess what we will be charged to do, whether it's leaving people in or things behind, or what or who to take along the journey. We must be mindful. Lastly, when examining capacity and limits, be mindful there may just be more than one destination to reach. We must know what is required to reach those destinations. I believe the Almighty Father will indeed open our eyes, will direct our footsteps, will put in mind the things that we must be aware of that have limitations. How much water do we need? What limits are before us regarding the things that we may be required to take? Rise up, Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, time is shorter than we think. It's time to be mindful of capacity and limits. It's time to be mindful of the time. Consider Colossians 4:5, which tell us to walk in wisdom towards those without, redeeming the time. Are we weighted down? Are we ignoring things we shouldn't? Let us not take the things that are brought before us for granted. Let us know who has the strength and capacity to carry what or whom. What limits will we face? For some, what lies ahead? Have the discussions, Yashar'al. Discuss the matters that are important regarding end times, capacity and limits, vehicles, food, water, fuel to get to where you're trying to reach, if that be the case. Judgment will prove the need to be aware of capacity and limits. Don't take these for granted, my brothers and sisters. That's all I have for now on this matter, on this subject of capacity and limits. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters. Our redemption is drawn near. And the Almighty Father will provide, He will guide, He will work in us, through us, one towards another. And we will witness His promises come to be. I pray that you are encouraged, my brothers and sisters. I pray that you are aware of what's needed in the days ahead. Thank you, and stay tuned. There is much to come, my brother, my sister, my family. Stay tuned and be encouraged.